Hi, this is Jared Latimer, and this is Section 1 TV. We are at the opening reception for Constructing Nostalgia. I have with me the co-curators for the exhibit, Jason Lanigan and David Gianfredi. We're going to hear a little bit about the show from them, some ideas they had when putting it together, and why they included the artists that they did. So, Jason, why don't you share a little bit of insight first?
The whole concept of this exhibition came about when David and myself were speaking with Jared, I think it was back in December. We were looking at our work, his photorealistic neon signs and my assemblage sculpture, and wanted to put together an exhibition that would be unique for Ephraim almost, a unique exhibition that would pull together not just our work, but find three other artists that bridge the gap between us, that all reflected upon through using found objects or assembled imagery to create a sense of nostalgia, a way of looking back at the past that is so fleeting to us in sometimes. As these larger chains and entities grow, mom and pop entities get driven under, and some of the local identity and character of places gets lost. And so that's a lot of what this exhibition is about, is recapturing those local identities, recapturing some of that uniqueness of space, especially that exists in rural America.
Jason and I had taken many road trips, and my love or interest in the world that used to be as opposed to the world that we're getting these days. It was, for me, on my part, on my end, I was thinking of how Norman Rockwell didn't paint a specific place. He painted an ideology, he painted an idea. But everybody, it was universal, everybody in America got it. And we're in a way, and like 5 generations later, it becomes truth to that generation. But it never really was truth in the beginning. And like Route 66, there were all these little mom and pop places that were creating their own image, their own sense of self. And in years gone past, it becomes, oh, that's the way it was, really. And so the ensuing generations actually kind of believe it. And so that becomes the nice little narrative, the story. And Jason and I, having traveled many, many, many miles on these broken down old highways and stuff, and seeing these places and these areas, and you could just feel the palpable past that these places have, inhabit, and embody. And for me, it was kind of calling out to me that, we had to do something with it. It was there. It was right in front of us. It would have been folly to ignore it.
The bulk of my work is based directly upon medieval reliquaries or elaborate shrines to hold mundane objects, usually bones of saints and things like that. What I've done is I've taken this format and I use it to house contemporary objects that are important to me. And with this exhibition specifically, objects that have a more global reach to people, things that people can identify with. This piece in particular is a reliquary for American virtues called Thanksgiving dinners. And the photograph on it is actually 3 generations of my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother all sitting down at a Thanksgiving dinner. And the whole impetus for the piece was actually the spoon that's in it that I found at some rummage sale. It was just a really beautifully antique spoon. And then I basically had a bunch of scrap materials that I created this house for this spoon to make it seem far more important than it probably ever would be or ever was. And on the reverse side is inset a piece of an old ceramic cup that took me about 5 days of searching the old Provo City dump from about the 1930s to find the right feel of a cup, things that I would have used, things that my parents would have used, things that a lot of people used in diners and whatnot. Part of the beauty of this piece is that it's titled, the capital on its Midpoint Cafe, which is the midpoint of Route 66 in Adrian, Texas. Midpoint Cafe is kind of, you think about that dichotomy. We always want our family dinner times together, but yet we end up mostly not at home. We end up out at the diner. We end up at the local cafe or the restaurant down the street, which is our favorite place to eat. And so this piece deals specifically with that that paradox of that virtue of eating at home, the family that eats together stays together, and yet at the same time that doesn't take place actually in the walls of our homes, but usually at a place where people provide that for us.
This piece is called Johnny Rockets, this food chain that I saw in San Diego, California. It's where I was living at the time. When I saw it, I'm one of those type of artists that I can walk around and see stuff and not everything speaks to me, but when I saw this particular sign, I had to paint it. I went home, got my camera, came back, took about 3 rolls of film, different shots of it, because there was something about it that harkened to me about, and again, it was sort of this post-war view of ourselves, the 50s diner, the things were optimistic in America, and I liked that about it, and I decided to paint it. And then in that decision of painting it, how was I going to paint it? So I decided to really kind of go all out and do as photorealistic a job as I could, and this is what I came up with. And this painting is actually about 10 years old. It's not one of my newest ones, but it's one of my favorite ones, actually. And for me, it endures the test of time. It wasn't a fad piece that, well, it was popular, it was hot for just a few years, and art has moved on, and now it has no place. It still does, and it still resonates as well as it did when I painted it. And that's, to me, a testament of the concept behind the painting and the handling of the medium. So that's how I feel about that.
We are standing in front of 2 pieces from Polly Barber, a Boston-based artist. These are digital collages that she has created. They exist mainly, her work exists mainly as prints, as digital prints. And I think they're a wonderful combination of the old meeting the new. She uses found objects, broken objects, old objects, historical photos, really anything that she could find. And then she throws it all into this contemporary and new medium, that of digital collaging. And I just find it really, really interesting from an artistic point of view. I'd like to invite everybody out to come and see the show in person. It's going to be up through the first week of September. There's a lot of work that we weren't able to talk about or highlight, and it's really worth seeing.